Jensen presents a Muppet Babies video storybook. Oh, hi there. I've been expecting you. Today I'm going to read you 3 stories about the Muppet Babies. Are you ready? Are you comfortable? Because you have to be comfortable to hear the story, okay? Good. Now the story is called Meet the Muppet Babies, and it begins in a nursery. So why don't you imagine that you're in a nursery too, okay? Now Meet the Muppet Babies was written by Louise Gicko, and the pictures were drawn by Lauren Axelrod. Baby Kermit was sitting on the nursery floor. He had a big cardboard box and was busy cutting a hole in it. "What a great cave," said Baby Fozzie, coming over for a look. "Just imagine," Fozzie went on, "a bear could tell jokes in this cave all winter long." "Bears hibernate in the winter," Kermit said. "They sleep until the weather gets warm again. They don't tell jokes." "They sleep all winter because they're bored," Fozzie explained. "If I told them jokes, they'd laugh all winter." "Anyway," Kermit added, "this isn't a cave, it's But Fozzie had run off to get some warm clothes so the bears in his cave wouldn't freeze. "Wow," said Gonzo, who had wandered over to look at the big box. "What a terrific space station! Those must be Martians." "It's not a space station," said Fozzie. "It's But Gonzo ignored him. "Now what it really means," he went on, "is a fleet of rocket-powered spaceships. Then I can travel into outer space. I can even get some milk for my cereal from the Milky Way." Zoom, zoom, zoom! Gonzo flew to the Milky Way in his spaceship. He borrowed the Big Dipper to carry some milk back to the space station. He got there just in time for breakfast. That's when Scooter came by. "Terrific," he called out. "You're building a giant computer. But where's the keyboard?" "Huh?" said Gonzo. "This isn't a computer. It's a..." But Scooter had already gone to get his alphabet block. He wanted to build a computer keyboard. "Isn't it fantastic?" asked Scooter. "This is the biggest computer in the world. It can figure out anything, including how to add a million billion and a zillion trillion." "What a neat piano," said Ralph, coming over to see what was happening. "It's not a piano," Scooter said. "It's a..." But Ralph had already sat down to play. Ralph began to play his favorite song in the key of G. When he was finished, the audience stood up and cheered. "I wish the rest of the orchestra were here," he thought, so he went to find them. "A parade!" Skeeter sang out when she saw what Ralph was doing, "with a marching band and everything." "It's not a parade," Ralph insisted. "It's a..." Skeeter interrupted him. "I'm going to get my baton," she shouted. Bum bum bum, bum bum bum. Skeeter marched up and down Main Street, twirling her baton. "What a lovely castle," Piggy said, coming over. "Look at the moat and all the towers. Where's the handsome prince?" "It's not a castle," said Skeeter, forgetting her baton, which fell and hit her on the toe. "Ouch! It's a..." But Piggy was already imagining herself at the royal ball. She was wearing a beautiful pink gown and dancing to her favorite song. Her partner was a handsome prince. "Jungle!" Animal yelled, clapping his hands. "River!" Baby Piggy stamped her foot. "Jungle? It is not a jungle. It is my beautiful castle." But Animal had already run off. He came back with 3 plants and a paddle. "Animal, ride both," he said. Then he put his canoe in the water and paddled away. Just then Nanny walked into the nursery. "What is that?" she asked, looking at all the things on the floor. "Jungle," Animal growled, sailing down the river. "It's a castle, Nanny," said Piggy, twirling around, "and I'm the beautiful princess." "No, it's a parade," Skeeter insisted, picking up her baton. Ralph shook his head and said, "It's a piano and an orchestra." "It's a giant computer," Scooter piped up. "I've just asked it how to make chocolate pudding." "It's a space station on Mars," shouted Gonzo. "Blast off!" "It's my very own comedy cave," said Fozzie. "Have you heard the one about the sleeping bears?" "It isn't any of those things," Kermit finally yelled. "I started it, and I should know." Nanny laughed. "Well, Kermit," she said, "what is it?" "Gee, Nanny," said Kermit, scratching his head, "I don't remember anymore." Can you imagine what it might be? See? Now that's what your imagination can do. It can transform a cardboard box into some pretty amazing things. Now in this next story, Baby Piggy and the Giant Bubble, we'll see what happens to Baby Piggy when she uses her imagination and it runs away with her. Now are you still comfortable? Good. But don't get too comfortable because I don't want you to fall asleep while I'm reading this story. Because it's a very exciting story. Baby Piggy and the Giant Bubble was written by Dinah Anastasio, and the pictures were drawn by Tom Cook. Piggy's adventure began about 8, when most of the babies had sat down to wait for Nanny to bring them their cereal bowls, their glasses of juice, and their cinnamon rolls. In a bowl, Piggy mixed up some salt and some water, then dipped in her pipe, just like Nanny had taught her, and blew out some bubbles, all shiny and bright, that floated and glittered, reflecting the light. Piggy watched one big bubble sail up to the ceiling. She closed her eyes tight and imagined the feeling of drifting and soaring up into the air, inside of that bubble, to heaven knows where. And suddenly she was. She was floating up high, out the nursery window and into the sky. She bounced toward a tree and then came down to rest in a newly made, slightly stayed, tidy, trim nest filled with tiny blue eggs, less than half Piggy's size. "Blue eggs," Piggy said. "What a pleasant surprise!" Just then, in a rush, a plump robin flew by. She stopped and she stared. Then she let out a cry, for one of her eggs was unusually big. And what's more, that big egg held a cute little pig. The mother bird squawked. The mother bird fluttered. She leaned very close to the bubble and muttered, "A pig in my nest? Why, that doesn't seem right. I hope you won't mind if I seem impolite. You're a bit out of place, so you really can't stay." Then with one gentle push, she sent Piggy away. A breeze caught the bubble. Away Piggy went, till she blew through the door of a big circus tent. As the audience clapped, Piggy bounced off the knees of an upside-down man on a flying trapeze, who gave her a kick, and she landed intact, smack dab in the midst of a juggler's act. The juggler just flipped. There'd been 9 balls, and now there were 10 in the air, and he didn't know how to juggle that many. "Oh dear," Piggy said, as he fumbled the balls and they fell on his head. Piggy was juggled right out of the tent. She circled the street lights, then made a descent near a stadium filled with a crowd watching soccer. "What's that?" yelled a soccer fan. "Somebody block her!" But no one could stop her. She just missed the mayor, then bounced off the toe of a shocking soccer player. The bubble spun out and careened round a pole. Then it whizzed past the sand to the other team's goal. "Goal!" called the ref, and the winning team cheered. "I protest!" cried the kicker. "A pig interfered." "Pardon moi," Piggy said. "I don't mean to cause trouble. I'm a pig, not a ball. Just a pig in a bubble." The ref tossed the bubble so far that it flew past the bus stop, the toy store, the park, and the zoo. Then it flew through the smoke of a puffing freight train, and the smoke puffed the bubble right up to a plane. The pilot was spelling out words in the sky. He didn't look up as the bubble flew by, but when he was finished, he noticed an O that didn't belong at the end of his go. "My go!" gasped the pilot. "This never will do. A go with two O's isn't go, it's just goo." The bubble swooped down, looped around, and just then, Piggy saw she was back near the nursery again. The bubble stopped short near the top of a tree, where it came face to face with a striped bumblebee. The bee eyed the bubble, and poor Piggy trembled. She called to her friends, who all quickly assembled. "Help!" Piggy shouted. "I think I'm in trouble. One sting from this bee means the end of my bubble." "We'll find a solution," called Kermit. "Don't worry." "The sooner the better," said Piggy. "Please hurry." After much consultation involving debate, they came up with a plan that was truly first-rate. "We've got it!" cried Kermit. "We know what to do. We'll send up a staircase of bubbles to you." The bee hovered closer. The bubble went pop. Piggy bounced down the staircase and came to a stop right next to her friends on the nursery floor, just where she had left them a short time before. Now travel is fun and it stretches the mind. It's great to explore all the places you find, but when the trip ends, when you'd rather not roam, you can take it from Piggy. There's no place like home. Well, I'm sure you didn't fall asleep during that story. Baby Piggy had quite an adventure, didn't she? For a while it looked like she was an egg in a robin's nest, a juggler's ball, and even part of the word goo. But you knew all along that she was a pig in a bubble, didn't you? Anyhow, in our next story, Baby Gonzo has a problem figuring out exactly what he is. What's a Gonzo is about what happens when he tries to find the answer to this very puzzling question. Can you imagine what Gonzo might be? I've been asking myself that question for years. Anyhow, What's the Gonzo was written by Andrew Gattell, and Judith Hunt drew the pictures. "Hey Gonzo," asked Baby Fozzie, "do you want to hear a great joke about a chicken?" "Sorry, not right now," Baby Gonzo replied. "I'm busy working on my most mysterious case." Detective Gonzo called this puzzling case The Incredible Mystery of Me. Gonzo wanted to figure out exactly what he was. "Maybe you're a rare jungle bird," suggested Baby Rolf. "Or a monkey with a banana nose," said Baby Piggy. "I think you might be a blue chicken," said Fozzie, who was particularly fond of chicken jokes. Gonzo shook his head. He knew he wasn't a jungle bird, or a monkey, or a chicken. The incredible mystery of me remained a mystery. While the other babies settled down to nap, Detective Gonzo searched the nursery for clues. "If there was a creature that looked like me, maybe it could help find the answer," he said. "It's too bad nobody looks like me." "Don't be too sure, handsome," said a very familiar voice. Gonzo spun around and came nose to nose with his image in the mirror. He thought, "I better investigate." Gonzo stood on one foot. So did the Gonzo in the mirror. He took off his hat and threw it over his shoulder. So did his mirror image. He tickled his nose. So did the mirror Gonzo. All that tickling made Gonzo's nose itch. Achoo! He sneezed. "Good night," said his image. Then it held out a hand. "Why don't you step over to this side of the mirror?" "Very, very strange," said Gonzo, "but I'll try anything once." Gonzo stepped through the mirror and found himself standing next to the other little blue creature. "My name is Gonzo," said the creature. "At last," Gonzo shouted, "someone who looks like me. This is great. Maybe you can tell me what I am." "Sorry, I can't," Gonzo said. "In fact, I've never heard anyone ask a question like that before. But I can take you to see the smartest person I know." With that, Gonzo grabbed his beanie and pogo stick and took Gonzo to meet his mother. Momzo was at home, ironing tuna fish sandwiches. "That's a pretty interesting way to make lunch," said Gonzo. "That's nothing," replied Gonzo. "You should see how the laundry looks when it pops out of the toaster." Gonzo introduced Gonzo to his mother. He asked her if she could tell Gonzo exactly what he was. "No, I can't," she replied. "But that's an interesting question. Let's go ask your Aunt Tonzo." Momzo put away her ironing and took them to see Tonzo. Aunt Tonzo was an astronaut. When Gonzo, Zonzo, and Momzo arrived, she was practicing eating in space. After dessert, she joined them and listened to Gonzo's question. "I've traveled zillions of miles through the galaxy," said Gonzo, "and there's one thing I know for certain. You're definitely not a babbling blue-eyed beast from the planet Bingo." "Well, that's a relief," said Gonzo. "Let's go and see Dr. Donzo," suggested Tonzo. "He's a pretty smart fellow. I bet he can help." Dr. Donzo was an eye doctor. When he heard why Gonzo had come, he asked him to read the chart on the wall. Yes, a very interesting case," said the doctor. "I can't answer your question, Gonzo, but I can tell you that your eyesight is excellent." "Thanks, Doc," said Gonzo. The doctor suggested that they pay a visit to Admiral Bronzo. "Perhaps he knows the answer," said Dr. Donzo. Gonzo and his new friends found Admiral Bronzo sailing. The Admiral listened as Gonzo explained why he had come. "You're too small to be a blue whale and too blue to be a white fish," said Bronzo, who was an expert on sea creatures. "And I can't swim a stroke," added Gonzo. "Then you must be some kind of landlubber," replied the Admiral. "Come with me, and we'll see what we can discover." Admiral Bronzo led Gonzo, Zonzo, Momzo, Aunt Tonzo, and Dr. Donzo on a search all over town. At the circus, they spoke to the Flying Flonzos, the Clown Clonzo, and Alfonso, the magnificent lion tamer. They didn't know what Gonzo was, but they joined the search just for fun. They decided to take Gonzo to see a very wise professor. Professor Ronzo was teaching her advanced bubble blowing class. She stopped and listened to Gonzo's question. "I know who can help you," said the professor. "We'll ask the wisest and weirdest one of us all, the Great Garbanzo." The professor telephoned the Great Garbanzo and explained the problem. The Great One agreed to see them all in his laboratory. When they arrived at the lab, The great Garbanzo was waiting for them. He was standing next to a large machine. "Gonzo, this is my Gonzo meter," he said. "This marvelous machine ties shoelaces, shuffles cards, makes strawberry milkshakes, and answers questions. Describe yourself to the Gonzo meter. It will tell you what you are." Gonzo thought for a moment. "I am blue with some feathers on top of my head," he said, "and I'm very handsome." The Gonzo meter sat silently. "I think it needs more information," said the great Garbanzo. Gonzo thought a little longer. This isn't so easy. "You can brush your teeth and sing the Itsy Bitsy Spider at the same time," pointed out Gonzo. "You like tuna fish sandwiches with ketchup," said Gonzo. "You can blow a bubble shaped like a pepperoni pizza," added Professor Gonzo. One by one, Gonzo's friends spoke. The Gonzo meter began to make a whirring noise. After a while, the whirring changed to a rattle, and then to a kerchunk, kerchunk, kerchunk. At last, a tiny slip of paper popped out of the Gonzo meter. It said, "You are Gonzo." Everyone was silent. "That's it?" asked Gonzo. Rattle, kerchunk, kerchunk, kerchunk. A second piece of paper popped out of the Gonzo meter. It said, "Isn't that enough?" "The machine has a point," said the great Garbanzo. "You may not know exactly what you are, but you certainly know who you are." Gonzo thought about all the wonderful things his friends had told the Gonzo meter about him, and he smiled. "I'm Gonzo," he declared happily, "and that is enough for me." Rattle, kerchunk, kerchunk, kerchunk. Out of the Gonzo meter popped still another piece of paper. It said, "I'm glad that's settled. Now who wants a strawberry milkshake?" The Gonzo meter whipped up milkshakes for the whole crowd. As Gonzo sipped his shake, he began to think about his friends back in the nursery. "I'd better be getting home," he said. In the nursery, nap time was over. Baby Kermit shook Gonzo. "Wake up! It's almost dinner time!" Gonzo opened one eye and yawned. "Dinner? No thanks. After that giant milkshake, I couldn't eat a thing." Not bad. Not only did Gonzo find out that being a Gonzo is very special, he got a giant strawberry milkshake too. Say, what's your favorite flavor milkshake? I like green pistachio myself. As a matter of fact, I feel like a milkshake right now. Sort of cold and wet. That was a joke. You get it? Cold and wet? Feel like a milkshake? Fozzie Bear told me that joke. Oh well, I guess that's it for now, but I'll be looking for you again when we have some more Muppet Baby stories to read together. Okay? I'll see you then. Fozzie, I didn't laugh at your joke.